Jeremy Corbyn, the first conference as leader coming up. Do you back the idea of Trident being discussed at this conference?
I think it's going to be discussed, and I'm sure that the majority of delegates, both in the union section and the constituency section, would want it discussed. I think that's a good idea. A conference ought to be the place where there is open discussion. That is the whole function of it.
So a debate on scrapping Trident pushed by Labour CND, of which you're the chair?
There will be a number of different views put forward. I am, as everybody knows, on the record as opposing Trident and its replacement.
So many of the shadow cabinets, some voices in the defence team that maybe we wouldn't have expected to serve under your leadership are very much pro-Trident. Did you not square off with them that there would be no debate on this so soon? Would that not have been sensible
At
diplomacy?
that time, we weren't aware if there was going to be debate at conference or not, though obviously all of us were fully aware that it could well come up. Yes, it is an issue for debate. I don't know what the outcome of that's going to be. My own views are very well known on nuclear weapons, and they haven't changed.
Could you envisage situations where the party policy is one thing and you as leader don't vote for it?
Ooh, you're asking some hypothetical questions.
No, but I mean, it's an important question because this is a new politics and we're used to the leader's writ running, and you're sort of saying that it might not all the time, and you persuaded some people who didn't support you, who were very much against you.
Well, I'm grateful to all those colleagues that took positions in the shadow cabinet and all the other teams.
No assurances were made on some of these issues.
They said, look, we're not completely seeing eye to eye on this, this and this. And I said...
That's a bit of an understatement on some of these issues.
I know we're not, but we can have that debate and that discussion. And many people, I'm not going to quote who, said, wow, that's different. But surely, isn't that what the public out there want? Grown-up politics, where people have honest disagreements, honest differences of opinion. You don't have to go to war over it.
Okay, so we've had developments in Syria that may be changing the game, and even in the past 24 hours, there's been a presumption that there'll be a vote. Maybe that's a little less certain. Would you say the West should talk to Assad?
I have huge differences with Assad. I think his human rights record is appalling. I think what the barrel bombs and all that have been done is absolutely appalling, and I would hope that we end up with a completely different Syria. Does that mean talks directly with him? I doubt it. I think those would be proximity talks via Russia. They're already happening. So bringing Russia to the table with Iran and the EU and USA actually means, in effect, that voice is there. It is not necessary for us to go and talk to him.
You seem to have come to a compromise with your colleagues over backing the European Union. Will you campaign to stay in the EU yourself? Will you go on the streets and campaign to remain in the EU as leader of the Labour Party?
My position is that if we stay in the EU, and I think the majority of the British population want to do that, it's got to be on the basis of a social euro. I had a very good discussion last night with Alan Johnson about how we're going to approach this. The party conference possibly will be debating this, and we'll come to a conclusion on it, and I'm sure we're going to go down the road together.
Nigel Farage had been quite excited about the idea of you cultivating left-wing Euroscepticism.
Well, Nigel Farage and I are not close on anything.
I think he said now that because you're a left-wing cycling vegetarian, you're only going to attract voters from the Green Party, and this idea that you can attract voters from UKIP, they're very happy and comfortable with that. What do you make of that?
I'm not absolutely certain of everything that goes through Nigel Farage's mind. What I do know is that Nigel Farage isn't really offering any alternatives to anybody on anything. Does Nigel Farage have a housing policy? Does he have a health policy? Does he have an economic policy? Is he actually offering any solutions to young people stuck on low pay or 0 hours contracts, or students struggling with debt? I'm not sure any of that stuff. I'm not sure any of that stuff appears on Nigel Farage's radar.
Let's move on. Tim Farron at the Lib Dem conference said that there were some things that he found so egregious about what was in the Conservative manifesto that he'd be willing to break parliamentary conventions, the Salisbury Convention, and use his lords to block things like the extension of right to buy. You've sort of thrown various parliamentary conventions up in the air since you became leader. Would you be willing to use the House of Lords to block Conservative manifesto pledges?
Well, our members in the House of Lords are doing their very best to, and will be even more so, to oppose the Welfare Reform Bill, oppose the Trade Union Bill for all that it says in that. Is that a breach of the Salisbury Convention or not? I don't think it is. And in any event, is it wrong that we should use whatever we can to try and block what are measures that are going to be truly appalling for ordinary people in this country? I wasn't aware that Tim Farron had brought the Salisbury Convention into play, but thank you.
So you would consider, on the trade union bill,
we'd consider
using the House of
well, it's
Lords
also,
to block.
of course, the House of Commons has the say, so it's Conservative MPs are going to have to go through, make up your mind time. I know which way we're going to be voting, and I know which way I hope all the opposition parties are going to be voting on both those pieces of legislation.
Jeremy Corbyn, thank you very much.
Thank you.